Now that we've had a couple of days to digest the novelties for 2023 from Rolex, let's dig into it together. Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. All right, a lot of new models from Rolex. A lot of models have been revamped inside and out, inside for the Daytona and I believe also for the Sky Dwellers and maybe some of the other models. You have now the Chronergy escapement, the Paraflex shock absorbers and whatnot. That is pretty standard now around the lineup of Rolex. But let's dig into the models one by one. And first, my favorite to put me in a good mood is the one that I had been talking about, expecting for the past 2-3 years to join the GMT Master II lineup. It is the classic black and yellow gold here with a nice two-tone bezel, black and gray. It's my favorite of this crop 2023, especially in two-tone. I'd love to visit an 80, but I think it's pointless, even though this look is very stark. And in general, if you look at the vintage ones, it's not the most favorite among collectors and among just simple consumers. It's a very strong look, a bit more for older gentlemen, which I am by now. But as you know, it will probably go straight to the second-hand market by some magic, because of course Rolex has lost complete control on its distribution, and it will probably come out at some ridiculous inflated price, and then I expect it to come back lower. I'm pretty sure that the full gold model might be readily available. The economic situation is not great around the world, and the full gold models are a bit of a tough proposition. There's a big upcharge from Rolex for those, and not many people have 25 grand to drop on a watch. So very cool watch. The next watch, which is a good surprise, is the
1908 Perpetual.
It's a very slim, nice display case back. I think there is something to show there. Why did they drop the Cellini and make up a name, the 1908, which is the year that the name Rolex was trademarked? Although the watch references a watch from 1931, it's kind of bizarre. It's a bit of a Tudor move to call this line with a year instead of a proper name to itself. The watch looks quite good. It's going to come at $21,000 though, in precious metal only. And you can pretty much guess that clients will use it as a bargaining chip to get a professional model in return of a purchase. Now let's dig into the weirder stuff. My Explorer 39 is a perfect watch, the 214270, although it was born a bit under difficult circumstances. The first version, the Mark I, had the wrong hands. The 369 were not loomed, and then they fixed it with the Mark II, which I love. And then bizarrely it was discontinued, only to come back this year in a 40mm format. And I can only imagine that this is a question of economies of scale on an industrial level. Maybe it shares parts with the OP41, which is not really a 41. And something is a bit unbalanced now on the dial once again. Yeah, I'm not crazy about this. It's a bit of a bizarre move from Rolex. Everything has to get bigger and bigger. And the other watch that I had pretty much guaranteed would come out because they had made a one-off for the yachtsman Ben Ainsley. It's the titanium YachtMaster 42, quite a large watch. The look is very drab, especially with the whole bracelet in titanium. Once again, I'd love to be able to put my hands on these to have an in-person opinion, which is always better than judging from videos and images and computer renderings. But that's all I have. Yeah, it's to me, titanium is more closely associated with Grand Seiko, and it kind of feels like Rolex is running after a market that is not really theirs. Grand Seiko does a beautiful watches, beautiful polishing on titanium. I don't think Rolex can really compete there. But there you go. It's a lighter version of the 42 YachtMaster, which is a bit of a niche kind of watch. I'm not really crazy for it. Some new designs for the Sky Dweller, namely a green dial, which is a bit tired now, a bit of a tired look. A green dial for the steel version. I know green really belongs to Rolex, and everybody followed last year with their own green dials, but by now it kind of feels like Rolex is following the others with this one, and I don't really like the contrast of the green on steel, to be honest. Anyway, this one will probably go out straight to the secondary market at crazy prices. You know how it works, right? Either the ADs sell straight to dealers, or they sell to their VIPs who already have too many watches, but it's the people who spend a lot of money to get on other things to get those watches, and then they keep them in the safe so nothing will get on the wrist of anyone, or they sell them to usually an intermediary who will then sell it to a dealer. Everybody taking a cut on the way, and the dealer takes another extra maybe 10%, 20%. They're gonna try to price them really high, but you know, as I said, the economy is not that good, so I'm not sure if this is gonna work. The nicest Sky Dweller coming up this year is a new type of a blue dial on the rose gold. Very nice watch, very expensive, but very beautiful. Now we come to the big dog, the one everybody seems to want, the Daytona, and they have redesigned it. I had said again a couple of times in my previous videos that the Daytonas on displays at the museums, as we should call them, the authorized dealer windows where nothing is for sale, kind of looked a bit tired, especially the gold dial ones in two tones. And the redesign changes a few things. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. Really need to see those in person, but would never happen really. Only in the display windows, of course. But what I like is the ring around the ceramic bezel, which is very Rolex because it makes it stronger against shocks. What I like less, and already there are some funny memes about it, are the skinnier surrounds for the sub-dials. Also, the indices tend to disappear completely now. They've been redesigned. Redesigned as well. The lugs, they seem to be thinner and the same size on each side. You know, it was always larger on one side than the other with the Daytona. But then you have a sort of imbalance because the crown guards look huge on this watch. I'm sure the waitlist will still be very long. But now the big talking point and another letdown for me this year, something that puts me off, is the display case back on the Platona, the platinum version only. If you're going that route, which again to me is following the trend of the other watches, and I always like the fact that you could not see the movements of Rolex. They are very durable movement, very accurate. You don't really need to see them, and yet they show it for the Platona, not for the other watches. Why? It's kind of weird. I'm finding bizarre, off-putting, not on brand. I think they're just following other brands. To me, by this point, I prefer the Zenith Chronomaster than this Daytona, which seems to be following the Zenith instead of being the front runner. But anyway, I'm sure people will line up to have the Platona, which has a gold rotor to embellish a bit this otherwise nice caliber, but not necessarily one you really want to put on display. I think the whole point was to keep the mystique intact, and now they just blew it with it. So I find that a bit off-putting, and extremely off-putting are the last two watches. The entry level, the OP, you know, was a mega success when they came up with those vibrant colors last year, and impossible to get your hands on them, especially the Tiffany dial. And the Tiffany dial, which was only produced for 1 year, comes back, comes back again, and with a bunch of balloons of all the colors that they had put together on those OPs. It's a bit crazy. I wonder if they're just making fun of their customers, just pushing it a bit further to see if people will still want to buy this at any cost, and you can be sure that they will. And they will also want to buy the 36mm day date, which is a really insane watch with gem set indices, multicolored, just like the puzzling dial. And of course, the craziest thing is that the date wheel is actually an emoji wheel, while the day wheel displays words such as love, hope, and gratitude, very woke. And maybe this is a Rolex way of trying to stay relevant, avoid being too old-fashioned. I'm not sure they're gonna succeed with it, but guess what? I'm guessing many people will line up to buy these watches as well. So why not? Let me know what you think about these new releases in the comments. Which ones would you like to see in the long term in your own collection? Bye bye, guys.